The next scope we should talk about is the Vectorscope. The Vectorscope is a way of measuring what colors are in your shot and how strong they are. So it's not so much about brightness or position like the waveform. It's all about how much of what color do you have in your shot and how strong is it. So we can look at this shot and say, okay, we have lots of red. Look at all this red. We have a little bit of yellow, like this yellow door. We have a little tinge of pink right here on the sidewalk. And then we have black and white. And those are kind of the main colors in the image. So a Vectorscope is just a way to kind of measure what color is it and how strong is it. You can think about it this way, like if you've ever done a color wheel in like art class, it's kind of a rainbow that goes in a circle, right? And a Vectorscope is sort of a way to kind of represent what colors are in your shot using a color wheel. So if we were to kind of graph this stuff on a color wheel, we'd have lots of red, we'd have a little bit of yellow, and a little bit of this kind of pink, right? So let's take a look at a couple shots through the Vectorscope. Let's go back to this shot here. And we have a lot of pretty much one color here. Okay. This really nice saturated pink. And if we look at our Vectorscope, we see we have a cloud here in the middle, and we have a lot of this kind of magenta color. Now, this helps us out a little bit because it shows the actual color here on the Vectorscope, but you don't actually need it. You can turn off colorize here, and you can get the same amount of information. Because again, this is like a color wheel. The direction that this cloud moves is the actual hue. So that's kind of what color it is. So this is really pushed towards magenta. It's a little bit redder than kind of a pure magenta, but all around kind of this clock face, we have magenta, red, yellow, green, cyan, and blue. And the farther you get out towards the edge of this clock, the stronger the colors are, the more saturated they are. Whereas in the middle, that's when they're less saturated. So if I were to take this and grab my hue control right here and rotate this around, this is going to change the colors in the image, but you can also, if I make my Vectorscope big here, you can also see the Vectorscope rotates because all of the colors are being pushed in a different direction. So that's a great way to kind of learn how the Vectorscope works, is if you have a monochromatic image like this, you can really easily see that the direction on the graph is the color. And if I take my saturation up or down, how far away things are from the middle, kind of the size of that cloud is how saturated they are. So if I boost the saturation all the way up, we'll see this is just way oversaturated. It's touching the edge of that clock, which is way too strong. And if we take saturation all the way down, it's just a little dot in the middle. So if you have a black and white image, this is all your Vectorscope's going to show you because there isn't any saturation, there isn't any color. It's all just gray. So it may seem really obvious for a shot like this, but for some shots, it's kind of hard to tell if your colors are neutral and kind of what colors are actually happening in the image. And this can be really helpful to kind of reinforce whether something's too warm or too cold, whether your skin tones actually look like skin tones or not. Because if we take maybe this offset wheel, and really we're kind of pushing our cloud around here in the Vectorscope. So if I want everything to be a little bit warm and leave this background a little bit cool, I can push everything to be kind of in this upper left-hand quadrant, which would be kind of warm, and leave this little bit, which is our window, down where it's cool. I can also push this farther to where our window is totally normalized and everything else is really, really warm. But right here, this is pretty much pure white. And I can tell because it's more towards the middle of the graph. This is great for a shot that your white balance might not be quite right. So on this shot, everything's just a little bit blue. And I can tell just because everything's in this lower right-hand quadrant. And a lot of these pixels where this is the brightest here is down here and it has a little bit of a cool tinge to it. So I can take this offset and push that up to where that cloud is right there in the middle of these crosshairs. And now everything is a lot more neutral. So the Vectorscope and the Parade are, in my opinion, the two most helpful scopes in Resolve because you can tell so much information just by looking at these two graphs. I can tell really quickly how bright certain elements in the image are, how saturated the image is, and what color things tend to be. This is essential for adjusting your images and making sure things look correct and making sure your eyes aren't playing tricks on you.